I'm Lee Kim, CEO of Kachara Media and Publications and the host of the TV series The Paranormal Zone. Today we're going to discuss an indeed interesting topic. Is Dorje Shugden a demon or Buddha? Before we discuss at length on this highly speculative topic, it is good to understand that the Dorje Shugden practice is associated with some recent controversy which started in the late 90s and has since gained attention worldwide with proponents for and against this practice. This series of discussions will look at some of the accusations thrown towards Dorje Shugden and his practice, beginning with whether he is an evil spirit or an enlightened Buddha. One of the principal premise for this controversy is that the practice of Dorje Shugden is worshipping the demon. To discuss in detail, is Dorje Shugden a demon or Buddha? I have with me Pastor Shin Tan, who has been a devoted student to His Eminence Tsem Rinpoche since 9 years ago, and teaching the Dharma for close to 7 years. And 2 years ago, she took her pastor vows in preparation to be Sangha. Also, we have Pastor David Lai, who is a dedicated student of His Eminence Tsem Rinpoche for 12 years now, and who has been teaching Dharma classes since 7 years ago. 1 year ago, he took his pastor vows to embrace his commitment to continue spreading the Dharma far and wide. Hello. Hello. Okay, we're going to start with an important question. I understand that the lineage of Dorje Shugden comes from among the highest incarnation line. Pastors, can you kindly elaborate more on this point?
Okay. One of Dorje Shugden's previous lives is Panchen Drapa, and he's one of the highest incarnation line of Tibet. In fact, the name Panchen is actually a title given to him as a mark of respect for his great learning, because he was such a great scholar. He was actually the student of the second Dalai Lama and the teacher to the third Dalai Lama. So you see this interrelation between the Dalai Lama and Dorje Shugden's previous life. And then on top of that, he was the abbot of Gaden, Sarah, and Drub monasteries, and ascended the throne as the 15th throne holder of Gaden throne. That is basically the heir of Lama Tsongkhapa on earth. And on top of that, he wrote 6 volumes of texts. And those 6 volumes of text was written so clear, explaining the Buddhist more subtler aspects of the Buddhist teachings that they're used as textbooks in a monastery till today. So in fact, for Panchen Drapa, he was so highly regarded that he was abbot of these 3 great monasteries. That feat has never been repeated till today.
Wow.
So how can a spirit have arisen from a Lama of that caliber, you see?
That's pretty impressive, I must say.
I would like to add, one of the most controversial incarnations of Dorje Shugden is perhaps Tulku Drakpa Gyaltsen. Tulku Drakpa Gyaltsen is a contemporary of the 5th Dalai Lama, and he was very much sought after for teachings, even though the 5th Dalai Lama was very famous at that time. In fact, they shared the same teacher, the Panchen Lama, Panchen Losang Chokyi Gyaltsen. Although Tulku Drakpa Gyaltsen was very famous as a teacher, still, his focus was very much practice. And in fact, there was the story that he always moved from cave to cave to avoid attention and also crowd. From the character and the focus of the practice of Tulku Drakpa Gyaltsen, we can have insight into the character and the qualities of Tulku Drakpa Gyaltsen. Another of the incarnation of Dorje Shugden, who is very famous, is the scholar Buton Rinchen Drub. Buton Rinchen Drub was very instrumental in the compilation of 2 very important texts in the Tibetan Buddhism canon. These texts being Kangyur and the Tengyur. Kangyur being the text on the spoken words of the Buddha, and Tengyur being the collection of commentaries on Buddhist teachings.
Thank you, Pastor Shin. How about yourself, Pastor David? Do you have anything else to add? Because I heard that this incarnation line is indeed quite long.
I would like to add to that. There's another incarnation as well. There's many, but just one example comes to mind. His name is Sakya Pandita. He's a Lama of the Sakya school, And he was incredible because from a very young age, he was such a great scholar. That's why his name was Sakya Pandita. Pandita means great scholar as well. And he wrote texts on logic, or sometimes it's called valid cognition, that clarifies misconceptions of the Buddha's teachings during his time. And then on top of that, he was so famous, and he had debated with Hindu scholars, and one of them was Harinanda. He defeated this Hindu scholar in debate. And after that, his fame grew so wild all over the world, and his name reached China. And a Mongolian ruler called Gaden Khan invited him to China. And that was where he traveled. And when upon reaching China, he was put to the test. He was invited to bless a temple in China, apparently. What happened was this temple was actually an emanation created, an illusion created by his court magicians. So the king, Gaden Khan, wanted to test to see whether this Lama could tell it was an illusion. Yes. So when he went there and he did his rituals and he consecrated, the king thought, oh, that means he couldn't tell. So was he really as realized and awakened and enlightened as they say he is? Mm-hmm. But after that, so what he did was he signaled his court magicians, and they could not withdraw the illusion. And then they realized their mistake, so they knelt before this great master, Sakya Pandita, and they confessed, and ever since then, they became devoted followers of Sakya Pandita. There is one very important incarnation, Duldzin, Drapa Gyaltsen, and he is actually the student of Lama Tsongkhapa, and he was very famous for being equal in terms of attainments, in terms of wisdom, in terms of learning. And he was such a pure monk that he was given the title Duldzin, which means holder of the Vinaya. And on top of that, he was also the Lama who built Gaden Monastery for his Lama Tsongkhapa. So he cannot be a spirit. He could have taken rebirth as a spirit from such an illustrious line of incarnations. I mean, the incarnation line is endless. There's also another earlier incarnation called Virupa or Biwapa, and he was a great Mahasiddha that displayed his attainments to subdue his students, and he brought a lot of people onto the path of the Dharma, and he did a lot. So you can see that almost every single lifetime he was incredibly beneficial. So I don't see how this line of incarnations could result in a demon.
I hear what you're both saying. What you have both shared is indeed impressive. And I will look at it this way, like an analogy. I relate it to a brand of medication, which we as consumers will rely on a brand which stands the test of time and reputed to be effective and also made and backed by credible companies and CEOs. Similarly, I see it this way in terms of the incarnation line. It is clear that indeed this line of incarnation is one which is powerful and credible, which then casts more doubt on the propagated theory that Dorje Shugden is a demon. This next point is really intriguing. It is believed that when Tuku Drapa Gyaltsen was murdered, his body could not be cremated. It was then concluded he became a spirit. Then many rituals followed to destroy this spirit, yet nothing could subdue him. Please explain how could this be in light that it is a well-established fact that Tibetan Buddhist rituals are indeed most effective in eradicating spirits?
In order to answer that question, I would have to go into Tuku Drapa Gyaltsen's life. Okay, when he was assassinated, what happened was there was a lot of calamities that occurred during the period after he's assassinated. And most people thought it was because that Tuku Drapa Gyaltsen arose as a spirit. But that's not true, because the negative karma that is accrued because of the untimely demise or the assassination of this great Lama create the circumstances for this to happen. So that's the first misconception about Tuku Drapa Gyaltsen in this case. And then at the funeral, what happened was that was also the time where the fifth Dharma found out about the plot of the assassination of Tuku Drapa Gyaltsen. He was very, very upset. So he wrote a document, a kind of apologetic document, which was to be read out during the funeral. So when it was read out, then only would the funeral pyre light up. And subsequent to that, all these calamities was happening, and that created some people to advise the Dalai Lama to say that, oh, it was because of the spirit of Tuku Drapa Gyaltsen that's creating all these problems. So the Dalai Lama responded by instructing Ling Rinpoche from the Nyingma tradition to engage in what is known as Jinsek, which is fire puja, which is one of the most powerful rituals used to subdue negative interferences and spirits. So during the ritual itself, it involves using meditation. By the power of the meditation of the Lama, he attracts the spirit, in this case, the spirit of Tuku Drapa Gyaltsen, Dorje Shugden, onto the ladle. And then the next thing was he was to put it into the fire to subdue or subjugate the spirit and then send his mind into the Pure Land. So when he did that and he lifted the ladle out, the spirit is not supposed to be there anymore. So what happened was, what he beheld was a vision of Yamantaka on the ladle. So Yamantaka is the emanation of Manjushri, in other words, a Buddha. So none of those powerful rituals was capable of eliminating Dorje Shugden. In other words, Dorje Shugden is definitely not a spirit, not a demon.
And I believe also it was more than one fire puja that was attempted to eliminate the spirit of Dorje Shugden, am I correct?
Yes, there are other fire pujas, not just one, actually many. In fact, one of them, the Dalai Lama himself did conduct the puja. And there are some instances where instead of Yamantaka, what happens, even before the ritual was able to be completed, Satrap, the Dharma Protector Satrap, which is very much connected to Tuku Drapa Gyaltsen because he practiced Satrap during his lifetime, came to stop the ritual by creating an illusion of a dancing Dakini to distract the Lama who's conducting the ritual. And then there was instances where Satrap actually manifested other visions to distract, to stop the ritual from happening.
So therefore, back to the same question, if he was a spirit, why would a deity, a powerful Dharma protector like Satrap come into play to distract the process from taking place?
That's right.
Correct. Is there anything else, Pastor Shin, that you would like to add?
You know what is interesting is what Pastor David told. This happened many hundred years ago, right? But today, in modern day, Tibetan Buddhism and Tibetan Lamas are still highly sought after to remove black magic, such as Taiwanese mountain magic, Thai black magic, etc. So this tradition is very much still alive and continuing. So if right now it is decided that Dorje Shugden is still a demon, why don't they conduct rituals to eliminate this demon? I mean, it is still a demon, and this tradition of Tibetan rituals is still very much alive and being practiced and is valid. So why don't they eliminate the demon now instead of having perhaps a ban or trying to discourage people from practicing this spirit or demon? It's very easy. So I don't understand this part of the controversy, or why you cannot eliminate a demon when your tradition is very strong and very much sought after to eliminate demon and spirits.
Absolutely, I think, and that's what we need to think about. We need to process what the both of you have shared, and people need to hear this and really think about it. Therefore, a point to take away here is, if Dorje Shugden was a spirit or demon, then it only makes sense that he should have been resolved, subdued, eradicated at that time, correct? And not, in fact, be relied upon until today, even by His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, until the implementation of the ban. There will be some of us who are not well versed in the Dharma and deities and their interconnection. This leads me to ask the both of you, kindly explain the nature of Dorje Shugden in relation to other Buddhas like Manjushri, Je Tsongkhapa, Mahakala and Yamantaka. Please.
What we usually rely upon are scriptures and commentaries written by High Lamas when referring to this manner. So, for example, there are many prayers and texts written by High Lamas that praise the enlightened quality of Dorje Shugden. For example, Kyabje Pabongka Rinpoche wrote a council text titled Melodious Drum, Victorious in All Direction. So we know that Kyabje Pabongka Rinpoche is highly clairvoyant and who has visions of Buddha Hiruka. And another text written by Kyabje Trijang Rinpoche titled Music Delighting an Ocean of Protectors. Kyabje Trijang Rinpoche being the tutor of the 14th Dalai Lama, who passed many of the tantric lineages to the 14th Dalai Lama. Another Lama, Sekong Dorje Chang, wrote a whole council, and in that council, Dorje Shugden was referred to as the chief Dharma Protector of Conqueror Manjunatha Lama Tsongkhapa. So this is in reference to Dorje Shugden as Manjushri. Also, in many of the prayers, for example, in the invocation prayers, we invoke Dorje Shugden from Five Peak Mountain, Wu Tai Shan, which is the abode of Manjushri. So from these many texts, scriptures, commentaries, and etc., we can see that the praise of Dorje Shugden as the qualities or as emanation of Manjushris is very clear.
Also, another aspect to point out is that according to tradition, according to lineage, that our practice of Dorje Shugden in the Gelug tradition actually descended from Tushita or Gaden heaven. This is quite interesting, and
Tell us more.
Sure. There's a Lama by the name of Tapu Pema Vajra, Jampel Tempe Ngodrup. He is a special Lama in a sense that for many lifetimes he has this special ability to astral travel. So Kyabje Pabongka Rinpoche requested this Lama to please astral travel to Gaden heaven, Tushita, in order to receive these teachings of Dorje Shugden directly from Duldzin. So he did. He entered into meditation and he ascended into Tushita, Gaden heaven. And before Duldzin, he requested these teachings. But Duldzin referred to Lama Tsongkhapa instead. So from Lama Tsongkhapa, it was said that he received the complete cycle of teachings of the 5 families of Dorje Shugden and also the life entrustment of Dorje Shugden from Lama Tsongkhapa himself. So you see the connection here of Manjushri, Lama Tsongkhapa, and it is said that during that time, under Lama Tsongkhapa, when he was giving the teachings, he lifted the cloth from his throne, and from it emanated Dorje Shugden. Wow. So until today, when we invoke upon Dorje Shugden, we call Dorje Shugden from Wu Tai San, the 5 peaks of Manjushri in China, and we also call Dorje Shugden from Gaden heaven under the throne of Lama Tsongkhapa. See this incredible lineage and blessings.
I think that sometimes what we need to hear when it comes to a faith, a belief, is not so much, did you see it, did you witness that? It's more like if something has been told once, twice, 3 times, and through many, many, many years, hundreds of years, there must be truth. So I do thank you both for this explanation, which should prompt all of us to contemplate on these points. If the allegations are that Dorje Shugden is a demon, would you also therefore be saying that Je Tsongkhapa, Manjushri, Kalarupa, and Mahakala are demons too? These are things we need to think about. With so much accessibility to videos via YouTube, I have seen videos of oracles taking trance, and I've been told that the deities that come can be enlightened or unenlightened. Would you be so kind to explain to us, how does one distinguish between enlightened and unenlightened?
Oh, sure. When it's an expert looking at the oracle taking trance, especially of Dorje Shugden who is enlightened, there are a few aspects you can look at. One of them is that immediately what happens is the high lamas actually go up to Dorje Shugden in an oracle and make offerings to Dorje Shugden. Never, if the oracle takes trance of an unenlightened being, the lamas will not go to make offerings to him. Instead, the oracle with the deity inside will make offerings to the lamas.
I have seen that. I have seen whereby the oracle is actually taking things to the lama who's sitting on the throne.
Yes. On top of that, there's also when they make offerings to Dorje Shugden in the oracle, what happens is they offer tok, which is food offering, and what happens is the Dorje Shugden will receive it using a vajra and bell, using tantric ritual. So that shows his enlightened nature, that shows his attainments, and that shows his who he is, basically. And they regard oracles that take trance of enlightened beings like Dorje Shugden very much highly regarded in society. So even for an oracle, because of the deity that enters the oracle, they would give him the title like Chojela versus a normal oracle's title of just a Kuten. So you see this differences.
And so therefore, if you're watching all this, like for me, on videos, we need to pick up on these things, which are actually quite obvious. Who's making the offerings to who, and the vajra and the bell. Okay, Pastor Shin, would you like to add anything else too?
In fact, what is very unusual is that Dorje Shugden has a peaceful form called Duldzin. And in this form, he is a high lama, and he gives teachings during trance, as well as giving tantric empowerments, which is unheard of other protector deities. And there are many instances where Dorje Shugden gave advice and gave prophecies that are very accurate. But there are two very important ones which I would like to share. The first being the successful escape of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama from Tibet. Dorje Shugden, via the oracle, not only advised His Holiness when to leave Tibet, Dorje Shugden also advised via the oracle the methods and ways to leave Tibet. And what is amazing is even before the plans to leave Tibet, Dorje Shugden has already pre-planned some sort like a master plan, and that there was an organization that was requested by Dorje Shugden to be formed. It is called the Chushi Gangjuk. This organization plays a very important role as bodyguards protecting Dalai Lama out of Tibet.
Right, I heard about this, and Pastor David, correct me if I'm wrong, this group of warriors, shall we say, was advised by Dorje Shugden through via the oracle to be established even before the Tibet was attacked. And we're talking a few years before 1959.
Yes.
Is that correct? Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Okay, basically, Chushi Gangjuk was formed from a group of Kampa warriors, and they have a deep faith in Dorje Shugden, and Dorje Shugden is basically their protector. What happened was several years prior to the Dalai Lama's escape from Tibet, during one of the trances where the Kampa warriors actually went to consult Dorje Shugden via the oracle, Dorje Shugden instructed them to start up this society called Chushi Gangjuk. And this society and these Kampa warriors eventually became the bodyguards of the Dalai Lama. And they're extremely loyal and extremely brave, and they escorted the Dalai Lama out. And during the escape of the Dalai Lama, what they did was they constantly did pujas and offered sang, which is juniper incense, to Dorje Shugden to ensure that they are safe. Okay, in addition to that, during the escape of the Dalai Lama, they managed to leave the Potala and Tibet just in the nick of time. And it was because of the Dorje Shugden's prophecy that they managed to leave just before the Potala and the surrounding areas of Lhasa was shelled. So you see the efficacy of Dorje Shugden's prophecy through the oracle.
It is obviously true what you have both shared, especially with the advice on how the 14th Dalai Lama was to escape, because His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama till now, year 2015, is very much alive and healthy. It is extremely interesting what you have shared, and you know, like I said, what we need to think about is listening to all this. Where does it go? Where is your mind? And what are you thinking in terms of spirit versus demon? Okay, now we come to my next question, Pastor David and Pastor Shin. Demonic worship stunts your spiritual growth. I mean, that's kind of logical because evil begets evil. Since the argument here is we are in support of Dorje Shugden being a Buddha, please elaborate or explain further what are the benefits, you know, that makes the practice of Dorje Shugden distinctly different than demon worship.
There's many benefits from Dorje Shugden's practice, and I'm going to go on one point first. I'm going to start with this. His Holiness Kyabche Pabongka Rinpoche, his Kyabche Trijang Rinpoche, Kyabche Song Rinpoche, all has mentioned that Dorje Shugden is an emanation of Manjushri. Now we know Manjushri is a bodhisattva of wisdom, and that's the benefit of worshipping Dorje Shugden, relying on Dorje Shugden, is that we be able to gain spiritual attainments faster and quicker. We'll be able to understand the teachings of the Buddha faster and transform our lives. And how I'm going to show you is, you just look at iconography of Dorje Shugden. And in Dorje Shugden's mandala, it's incredible because Dorje Shugden emanates as the 8 guiding monks and the 9 mothers. The 8 guiding monks, the purpose of these emanations is actually to help us hold our vows. And also our words of honor, also our commitments. These are spiritual things, you know. These are things that help us spiritually. And then on top of that, the 9 mothers, they are emanations of Dorje Shugden in which they help us to gain tantric attainments, spiritual attainments, especially when we engage in higher meditation, higher practices. So you see, even in terms of his emanations, in terms of how he appears, how he manifests, you can see that Dorje Shugden's sole purpose is to benefit.
And just you know, out of curiosity, from what you have mentioned and explained about what people in pursuit of a spiritual journey will gain, this is very different than if you know, pray to the demon and the spirit. You won't be gaining knowledge and attainments and things like that. Do you have anything to add to this spirit worship thing?
Now, what is special is that apart from playing the traditional role of being a Dharma protector in assisting practitioners in removing inner and outer obstacles on their spiritual path, Dorje Shugden also play a very important role. And one of his enlightened activities is the recognition of tulkus. So as we know, tulkus are reincarnated Buddhist masters. And they usually play an important role of being custodians of the teachings or lineages of Tibetan Buddhism. So some of the tulkus recognized by Dorje Shugden is the current incarnation of His Holiness Kyabche Trijang Rinpoche, Kyabche Tenma Gongsa Rinpoche, and Lama Zopa, and many more. The incarnation of these great masters have returned and continue to fulfill their previous life prayers by teaching the Dharma, as well as the work done by their organization. So some of the biggest Buddhist organizations in the world today, such as FPMT, the Foundation for the Preservation of the Mahayana Tradition, as well as the NKT, the New Kadampa Tradition, they owe much of the success of their organization on the reliance of Dorje Shugden. Example that I can remember is that Lama Yeshe himself has attributed the success of his organization to his reliance on Dorje Shugden. And it is a well-known fact that Lama Yeshe did Dorje Shugden Puja whenever there are any problems in the organization, as well as at the beginning of any courses in Kopan Monastery, which is the main monastery of FPMT.
So therefore, whether it is for one's personal spiritual attainments, whether it is to have erudite masters reincarnate back to continue teaching the Dharma, or whether it is for Buddhist organizations to continue to flourish so that people like ourselves has a place to go learn the Dharma and practice. For whatever the reasons, what I'm hearing from the both of you is that Dorje Shugden only serves to benefit, only serves to benefit mankind, only serves to benefit the continuation of the Dharma being taught. You know what I mean? So I don't see that as the actions and results of demonic activities. Do you? Seriously, it doesn't make sense. So, to my next point. Much information is available online and in text, saying that when you worship a demon, your refuge vows are broken, and therefore will lead you to rebirth in the lower realms. Can you please explain how does this relate to the practice of Dorje Shugden?
I think this point is very important for us to recognize, because Dorje Shugden has been relied on by some of the highest Lama, the highest Lama of the highest caliber. For example, the 5th Dalai Lama himself, the 13th Dalai Lama, as well as His Holiness Kyabje Trijang Rinpoche, the previous incarnation and the current incarnation, as well as many other lamas in the Gelug tradition. So these lamas are now back. And if, according to what you said earlier, it is not possible for them to worship a demon and then take rebirth in lower realm, because obviously they are not. They are still back here and continuing their work. And apart from that, there are also many other lamas.
Yeah, of course. I mean, what you have mentioned, Pastor Shin, is a lot of these great lamas that are famous. Also, there are many other very beneficial lamas like Gyaltsen Rinpoche, Kyabje Gyaltsen Rinpoche, who is highly regarded in the monastery. He is back. He's taken rebirth in the Tibetan parts of China, and he is starting his education, and he's doing very well. And then you have Domo Geshe Rinpoche. His current incarnation is a very young tulku, a yangsi in Tibetan they call that, and he is in Gaden Monastery doing very well with his education and fulfilling his role as a high lama. So, and also even Lama Yeshe. Lama Yeshe was a great practitioner of Dorje Shugden, and because of his practice and his students' practice, the great organization FPMT is doing a lot of good works. And also, besides that, Geshe Rabten, whose current incarnation is in Europe, who is a young man who has pursued his education and is fulfilling his role as a high lama. So you see all these great lamas, both famous and also beneficial, many of them have come back. So it shows only one thing, that actually one does not break one's refuge when one takes refuge in Dorje Shugden.
And not only that, just to stress a point, they not only return in human form, they are returning as also recognized high lamas. Exactly like, coming back to where they left off, so to speak. Yeah? Pastor Shin, would you like to add on any more?
Apart from that, another point the main point that we need to remember from this is that these high lamas, apart from being tulkus, they themselves are highly regarded as having high attainments. And for these lamas, they cannot make mistakes, and that it is not possible for them to worship demon, because they are considered highly attained, and these are masters who we consult and rely upon, who write texts, who are the lineage holders who tell us that these are the practices, these are the prayers that you should do. So for example, the two tutors of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, both of them, Kyabje Trijang Rinpoche and Kyabje Ling Rinpoche, both of them wrote texts and prayers to Dorje Shugden. Kyabje Trijang Rinpoche, the junior tutor of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, wrote Music Delighting the Ocean of Protectors. This is a commentary to Kyabje Dakpo Dorje Chang's praise. Kyabje Ling Rinpoche, the senior tutor of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama, wrote requests of activities of protectors. And when Kyabje Ling Rinpoche wrote this text, he was the 97th Gaden Tripa, or considered the lineage holder, the head of the Gelugpa, or the tradition of Gaden. So it shows that these lamas who are highly attained, it's not possible for them to be wrong. And it is also at this time that they wrote prayers and praise to the Dharma Protector Dorje Shugden.
I do agree, after, hearing what you have shared and also reading quite a bit, that, such erudite masters returning, reincarnated to current times in human form, and great teachers continuing where they left off, cannot possibly be praying or relying on a demon. The demon is not going to give you these kind of attainments to come back and continue teaching. That's how I look at it. So such high lamas, relying on Dorje Shugden life after life, so to speak, only gives you more and more evidence that this question, is Dorje Shugden a demon or a Buddha, is actually quite ridiculous. Yeah? All right. Now, so far you have shared with us very much Gelugpa tradition masters. Tell me, do we have other traditions that also rely on Dorje Shugden practice?
Yeah, there are many masters from other traditions as well. And in fact, Dorje Shugden first arose as a Dharma Protector in the Sakya school of Tibetan Buddhism. And in fact, it was the 30th Sakya throne holder, Sachen Sonam Rinchen, who actually enthroned Dorje Shugden to be the protector of the Sakyas. And it was his son and heir to his throne, the 31st Sakya throne holder, Kunga Lodro, who actually wrote a lot of Dorje Shugden, and also he combined the lineage from his father together with another high lama called Mochen Kunga Lundrup. And he wrote that into a prayer, into text, into propitiating text, propitiating Dorje Shugden. And then there's also many, many high lamas. In fact, Sachen Kunga Lodro is considered an emanation of Dorje Shugden. Not only is he practiced in a Sakya school, Dorje Shugden also emanated as one of their throne holders. That shows his enlightened nature already. And on top of that, I mean, this is in the Sakya school. Okay, we go into the Kagyu school, you have masters like Jigme, Norbu, Zhabdruna of a Drupal Kagyu school. He's a high lama, and he wrote prayers to many Dharma protectors, including Dorje Shugden.
Wow.
And then you have the Nyingma school of Tibetan Buddhism. There's no written records that I'm aware of at the moment, but there is existing antique tankas of Dorje Shugden together with Guru Rinpoche, Padmasambhava, together in a tanka. What this means is that even for the Nyingmas, they would propitiate Dorje Shugden. If he was a demon, they would not propitiate him as a Dharma Protector. Yeah. So many traditions.
Correct. I mean, I would like to add to that, because earlier we talked about how the high Gelugpa Dharma teachers and high lamas of the Gelugpa tradition coming back and continuing and relying on Dorje Shugden. Now you're also telling me that Nyingma, Kagyu, even these other traditions have propitiated Dorje Shugden. So by saying again that if Dorje Shugden was a demon, it would make all these other traditions wrong. Now, is that possible? I don't think so. Okay, now let's entertain a little bit, yeah. What people are saying out there. All right, let's entertain some of these allegations, and let me know your point of view. In light of the recent allegations that Tulku Drapa Gyaltsen was actually wrongly recognized, and that Dorje Shugden arose due to wrong prayers, what is your take on that?
I strongly disagree with the allegations that Tulku Drapa Gyaltsen was wrongly recognized. Tulku Drapa Gyaltsen, as I mentioned earlier, was a contemporary of the 5th Dalai Lama. And both Tulku Drakpa Gyaltsen and the recognized 5th Dalai Lama were students of Panchen Lama. Panchen Lama was their teacher who recognized Tulku Drakpa Gyaltsen as well as the 5th Dalai Lama. So if we are questioning whether Tulku Drakpa Gyaltsen was wrongly recognized, we also will be questioning whether the 5th Dalai Lama were actually correctly recognized. So it is not possible for a Lama of such high caliber, again, the Panchen Lama, to wrongly or easily or be fooled into recognizing an incarnation, because this would mean very much the dignity and also integrity of the lineage that we're talking about. And these are not any Lama. These are lineage holders and also important lineage holder of the whole tradition.
Yeah, I totally see that.
In addition to what Pastor Shin has mentioned, though also you have to take into account that Dorje Shugden first arose as a Dharma Protector within the Sakya school, and if he was to be a demon, if he was so negative and bad, why would the Sakya throne holders enthrone him as a Dharma Protector? And if he was a Dharma Protector of, or rather a demon of wrong prayers, would he incarnate as one of the throne holders? It's almost tantamount to saying that some of the throne holders, which are considered officially recognized as emanations or incarnations of Dorje Shugden, to be a result of wrong prayers. It's impossible.
I want to thank you, Pastor David and Pastor Shin, for taking the time to share your knowledge on this sensitive yet important question on the practice of Dorje Shugden. The question being, is Dorje Shugden a demon or a Buddha? In this panel discussion, we have talked about an amazing, powerful, incredible incarnation lineage. We've talked about erudite masters, high lamas who have relied on Dorje Shugden from previous lives, reincarnate to current life, and recognized as lamas as well, and tukus too. So we've also talked about how we question even lineage holders like the Panchen Lama for making mistakes. And you have to ask yourself, even other traditions practice or rely upon or propitiate Dorje Shugden. How can all this information presented to you based on facts and scriptures all be wrong? What exactly are we questioning? Are we wanting to be right that Dorje Shugden is a demon just because we don't know enough? How about considering that Dorje Shugden is a Buddha and we should learn more about that? I urge you to continue learning, gaining the wisdom, and finding your truth to show you that Dorje Shugden is a Buddha. I am sure some of you who are watching this still believe Dorje Shugden is a demon. I challenge you to continue finding out, and if you have the facts to say that Dorje Shugden is a demon, then please feel free to present them the way that we have presented that Dorje Shugden is a Buddha. On that note, I thank you for watching, spending your time to learn more. If you have come this far to watch this and hear this, then you are looking at the option that Dorje Shugden is a Buddha.